Welcome to Songwriter Trysts, an intimate podcast that interviews artists about the art of songwriting and find out more about the life behind the songs. I am singer-songwriter Rae Leigh and your host for this show. Music saved my life and I want to talk to other songwriters about the power of songwriting, talk about their journey and how they got to where they are today. This is a safe space to share stories, lessons and emotions, all the great things that build an amazing song. Some of today's topics may be triggering. If you need support, please go to lifeline.org.au. Renee Jonas, one of my best friends and also amazing singer-songwriter Australian from Sydney, joining me today, and she's going to help me explain what this podcast is all about, why I'm doing it. And we're also going to talk about the life it is to be as a songwriter. And Renee is the perfect person for me to share this with you and to join in this conversation because she has been one of my biggest inspirations. And she's the one who dragged me along to Nashville last year. So it's kind of her fault. Say hello, Renee.
Hi. That's a very nice introduction. I'm not sure I can live up to it.
Oh, you do every day because you make me laugh and we have so much fun together, which was just a ball. In Nashville was so much fun and everyone they kept on getting us confused just because we were Australian. Like we don't look the same at all, I don't think.
No, we don't.
But,
the Aussies.
Yeah, the Aussie girls. Yeah, it was so much fun. But we met at the singer-songwriter retreat at the DAG during the Hats Off to Country Music Festival in Tamworth in 2019. And that was my second time. How many times had you been to that one?
That was my third time. Yeah.
Did it get better as you went on?
Every year I love it. I love it every year. It's amazing just to spend like 5 days with songwriters that are, everyone's passionate about music and songwriting and so good. I miss it. I can't believe that's only just over a year ago. It feels like a lifetime ago.
I know. We were supposed to have just been there. Like we were supposed to have gotten our yearly dose of songwriter injected into our arms from the DAG. And we've missed out this year because of the COVID-19 thing that's going on. I think that's part of one of the reasons that I wanted to do this is because being around other creatives and hearing their stories and where the music comes from and what we do when we're songwriting and co-writing together is such an intimate and personal and fun thing. And it's kind of like getting into bed with someone, if I'm honest. You really get to know, it's so intimate and you become connected forever because you make a baby, essentially. You make a song that
little song baby
has the potential, a little song baby, and that goes into the world and then has a life of its own and you have no control of that song once it's out there. So the co-writing sessions are really that intimate session, and that kind of brings me into I wanted to share the name of the podcast is Songwriters Trysts. And I asked someone if they knew what that meant the other day and they said, is it trust but with a New Zealand accent? And I was like, no, do you know what the word tryst means?
Yeah, like a lover's tryst.
Yes, yeah, it's a lover's tryst. It's the meeting, well, more specifically, it's the private and romantic rendezvous between lovers. And I was like, that's such a good word for songwriters talking about their stuff. And this would be a really cool way to let people sneak peek into the eyes of what happens between songwriters and also get to know their favorite songwriters or singers a bit more personally, just like you would if you were going into a songwriting session with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's cool. I like it. So that's the point of the podcast?
That's the whole point. And I've I had such good response from so many cool people, but I was just surprised. Honestly, I was like, I'll just message some people and see if they'd be keen to do this. And they all said yes. I was like, okay, well, now I have to do it. But I also think it's just really exciting because I love talking. My husband can't get me to shut up.
This is why we have so much fun together, because we just talk for hours and hours and days and weeks.
I know for me, like, music saved my life. And I think I've shared a bit of that story with you. But for the listeners' point of view, like, I was sexually abused as a little kid, right up until the age of 12. And in my generation, it wasn't something that we were allowed to talk about. And I was brought up in a church where emotional stuff wasn't really discussed. So I was so emotionally unintelligent. I had no way to cope or process the emotions that I was dealing with. And music, and I learned piano, and I learned guitar, and I learned drums, and I learned all this stuff. But music just fascinated me, and my soul was drawn to it. And I just got that release to be able to express myself where my words and my understanding wasn't up to scratch. And I think because of that, that's what saved me and got me through such an incredibly dark time in my life. Right up until then, I had kids and I had to deal with it, and it got reported to police, and I went through a court case. And after the court case finished, I went to trial, which was such a long and tedious process, while also trying to become a mum and dealing with postnatal depression. That was when I went to the DAG for the first time in 2015, and I met Alan Caswell and Carl Brody, who was just such an amazing inspiration to me. And that was the year before he passed away, actually. So that was really, really sad, big loss for our community. And,
absolutely.
But they just took me in, and they made me feel like I belonged, and just encouraged me when I was at my absolute lowest. That was the first place I ever sang or performed a song live on stage that was my own. And I remember the first time I was there, everyone just cried afterwards, and I was like, I'm crying too.
Climb the mountain way up high, pain and fear fall from my eyes, set me free like the eagle in the sky.
And actually, I was at Johnny Ringo's the other day, and someone said, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a singer-songwriter." And they're like, "Oh, we could request one of your songs. What can we put on?" And I was like, honestly, at the moment, the only songs that are out, you're just going to make everyone cry. So let's not do that. Like, the songs are so sad. So I've worked with a producer. I've got to start working on some more happy songs. But
I'm the opposite. I need to find some sad songs, because all mine are like cheeky and playful and happy.
You are a cheeky person. I think that's why I like you, though, because I have a lot of cheeky songs. I'm nervous about sharing them, but I think I'm inspired by you, and I fell in love with your, what's this, the Christmas one? It's My Man in Red.
Oh yeah, My Man in Red.
My man in red knows me oh so well. I'm under his spell, he's gonna jingle my bell, my sweet Noel.
Where does music and songwriting and all that sort of stuff come in for you?
It's something I've always loved. I think I wrote my first song when I was probably about 7 or 8. It was like the silliest little song, but I was always the kid that was like running around humming and singing to myself, and being told by everyone to shut up because I was too noisy. And
that was me.
Yeah. And
I knew we got on for a reason.
Yeah. I just never thought of music as a thing. I don't know why. It was just not really. It wasn't understood in my family, I guess. Like, it was just, music was something that happened and you could enjoy, and it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing that you could do. So
me either. It's not a career choice.
No. And I really wanted to be an actress. And when I was in year 8, I auditioned for the High School Musical, and everybody else was, auditioning and going, I can sing, I'm going to, do a great job, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, singing's great, but I'm here for the acting kind of thing. Because I just kind of was like, well, everyone can sing. Like, that's not a big deal. But, like, it takes a lot of talent and stuff to be able to act. And then by the end of the musical, I was like, not everyone can sing. Maybe it's something that I actually should consider doing as a skill. I love performing great songs, and I love performing them to people who are going to enjoy, whether it's a dinner show or whether it's a dance party. I sing on the Harbour Cruises a lot. So, a lot of the time that they're celebrating, their anniversaries and things like that. So it's nice to be a part of people's special moments and to feel like I've contributed to that. But songwriting, and it was for a long time, you know, when I was in the Ten Sopranos and when I was doing all these cover gigs and things like that, I kept my songwriting and my professional music career completely separate. It was like, it was one of those things that I didn't realize that you could do them both. I kind of just had songwriting was just a thing that I did for me, and I just would express myself. And it was just a hobby. And then I was, you know, going off and getting paid to do covers gigs and stuff. And then eventually I got to a point when I decided that I, you know, as much as I loved the Ten Sopranos, I loved the fun of touring all around Australia and going to all these places that I never dreamed that I'd get a chance to go to. I decided I really wanted to actually, sing in a language that I actually understood and sing music that I connected with more. It was really incongruous for me to be, on the one hand, writing all these like kind of heartfelt songs and songs that were really meaningful to me. And you know, every time when I was listening to music, I'd be listening to more, you know, country and pop and stuff like that was a bit more modern, hooky, and, you know, would tell a story or have great lyrics, things like that. And so I kind of thought, you know what, I felt like I'd done everything I could with the Ten Sopranos. I needed to leave. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to become a soloist and actually start singing my songs that I've written and put them out there. And even in that, like, 4 years, I guess, since I've done that, it's been such a big journey of musical discovery, songwriting discovery, and I guess self-discovery as well, because I think that they all go hand in hand, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's definitely a point where we need to be able to have fun. And I was writing songs for 15 plus years from childhood right through till last year, essentially. And I would not dare sing them for anyone. And I think deep down I always knew I was going to do something with my music, but I just didn't have the self-belief and the confidence or self-worth to think that they would do anything. Like, for me, they were my lifeboat. You know, like, they literally got me out of a sinking ship. But for some reason, I thought if someone else didn't like it, it would put a hole in my lifeboat or it would shut me down. And I'd seen so many people that I knew that loved singing go on these shows, like they'd go and apply for X Factor or Australian Idol or The Voice or whatever. And, you know, they were great singers and they still are great singers, but they'd go to those shows or they'd audition for something, and to see them be rejected and then them completely lose their passion for singing, like, that really scared me, because I was like, I can't afford to lose this, you know, like I needed my music to survive. And I think it wasn't until like Nashville with you and seeing you do so amazing, all the open mics, and just, I mean, you know, you were so open with your music, and I realized that, you know, at the end of the day, the music is just for me, and it is my lifeboat, but my self-worth and who I am as a person does not actually come from anyone else, and that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and no one's ever going to be happy with everything that you do. And for me, that was like, I could release my music and no one could like it, but at least I know that I've shared it, and then I've tried, and as a bonus,
as long as you like it.
Yeah, and if one person likes it and maybe connects to what I've been through and maybe realizes that they're not alone and that they're going to be okay and that you can talk about it, and, you know, you'll actually feel better one day, and that, you know, life isn't this big black hole, which is what I was rolling my boat through, you know. For me, like, if I could just do that for one person, it's all worth it. The tens of thousands of dollars that I spend on this extravagant thing.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, we're not doing it for the money. No one becomes an artist for the money or the fame, because the reality is that if you are, you won't last very long. Let me tell you that, ladies and gentlemen.
I find it really, really interesting that you said that you were inspired by me being, I guess, so open and kind of like, I guess, vulnerable with my music because it's really interesting. I sometimes feel like because I tend more towards the like cheeky, playful, funny kind of songs rather than the like sad, like slit your wrist kind of sad songs, heartfelt stuff. That sometimes I feel like sometimes it makes me feel like maybe I'm not being vulnerable enough. Like maybe I am not opening myself up to that. And Elise Simmons is someone who I just have so much admiration for how openly vulnerable she is. Like she will just, if she's talking about something on stage, she'll just be in tears. And like, that's something that I'm not comfortable with. I'm not comfortable crying in front of people. I'm going to make a joke about it and laugh and make some silly thing because that's the kind of person I am. And that's probably why I tend to write more funny, cheeky kind of songs because I don't want to kind of get to that point of crying on but and at the same time everyone's kind of been like you've got to narrow it down because I was like I love country music, but I love all of the country music. I love Americana, I love country pop, I love western swing, I love bush ballads, I love I love it all, and I write in all of those different genres. And so I was trying to do everything, and people were like, no, Renee, you can't do everything. You could write in everything, but you can't, as an artist, be everything. You have to be a bit more focused, more narrow. And that's part of the reason why I started writing for other artists as well. And for sync and some of these other things where you can be a bit more open with genre.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I kind of went, okay, I'm going to really narrow in and be country pop. That's where a lot of my songs are. I think there's some of my strongest, hookiest kind of stuff. And then that falls into my branding, which is cheeky, playful, strong, independent woman kind of thing. I think that all fits in together.
As far as your style of music, and like I think you've influenced me because some of my more recent songs that I've been writing have definitely been more cheeky, and I'm like, this is the Renee and me coming out. You've been getting inside me.
The Renee and the Rae.
the Renee and the Rae. That's so wrong. Anyway, but I actually think that you should just revel in where you're at. Like if you want to write cheeky songs and be playful and fun and give that escapism, fun, joyous feeling to people, you should. And I don't think that you need to worry about being vulnerable. I think you just need to worry about doing what feels right to your soul and your gut and follow that because that's what it's all about.
That's a conversation I was having with Jasmine today. I was just like, you know what? I can't, I just need to do what makes me happy. Music makes me happy, but sometimes it's really hard work as well. And especially with the whole world at the moment in turmoil, it's just so important to come back to like the happiness and why it makes you happy. When I released Blame It on the Wine late last year. It was straight after we got back from Nashville.
Great song.
Oh, thank you. I remember it was like the week after I'd released Blame It on the Wine, and I was doing all these like ads, like radio interviews and stuff like that, trying to promote Blame It on the Wine. And I remember feeling like really, I had this day or a couple of days, I guess, really, where I felt like I was like, what am I doing? I'm trying to release and promote this song that is so trivial. It's just a silly little song that's just joking about blaming it on the wine. And it's like, what is it? Because if you remember, so that was, Remembrance Day. So it was Remembrance Day, which is obviously a very serious thing. It was the time of the massive bushfires. That was a really serious thing. Like there were 3 or 4 really serious things going on in the world. And I was like, and here I am trying to promote this silly little song. It's just a joke. It's just meant to be cheeky and playful. And I started feeling apologetic, like I should be putting out songs that are more like meaningful and can help change the world, and which I guess The Silent Minute is more like that. But I was just I had that self-doubt and that moment of like, why am I doing this, you know, silly song about blaming it on the wine? Because, you know, that's literally, it's just a silly song. Like, no, it's not a silly song. I shouldn't say that. It's a cheeky, playful song, but it's not a serious, weighty kind of song. Anyway,
we need a break from like stuff like that though.
Well, this is exactly right. I had this random stranger, still have no clue who this person is, but they randomly contacted me through Facebook, just sent me a message and just said something along the lines of, I just came across your video for Blame It on the Wine, and it made me laugh and it really cheered me up on what has been a really down day for me.
There you go.
And that was it. That was the whole conversation. And I just went, oh, wow, this is why I'm putting out these kind of songs, is because if I can, exactly as you said, if I can help connect with one person, if I've made one person's day a brighter, happier place to be, I mean, that is everything in the world to me. That is so worth it. That's worth all of my hours and years of like heartache and sweat and blood and tears and everything to just get to that point of that was why I started doing music in the first place, was because I wanted to help make people's lives and the world a better place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're obviously making it a happier place in what can be, you know, work and life and kids, and the reality of the world can be really hard. And music is what I think really grounds us to ourselves. And I was actually going to ask you literally, you know, what is it that you want your listeners to get out of your music? What's your main thoughts behind writing a song and what comes across? And like, you pretty much just answered it before I could even ask you.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right. I mean, and whether I am singing a more serious song or whether it's a, you know, or even recently, I mean, in lockdown, I created this alter ego comedy alter ego, Jonas, and wrote that like social distancing comedy song.
2 arms apart, yeah.
2 arms apart, yeah. Again, it was like, I'm not trying to trivialize the pandemic or anything that's happened, but I just thought, you know what we all need right now is a laugh. We need to have a joke. We need to have a laugh. And so although it is a very serious topic and subject, the fact that I just wanted to kind of brighten people's days, make it a bit of a joke, bit of a laugh, let people have a good time, and just, you know, but we're wrapped up within a more serious like message of do actually stay 2 arms apart, because
you know, like something that I've always kind of lived by is that life's too short to take it too seriously. Like, you know, we need to be able to have fun. Even when there's really serious things on, we need to be responsible. But there's no reason why you can't have fun and laugh and smile while being responsible. It is possible, people. You know, we don't have to be miserable just because we have to follow a few rules to keep people safe. You know, we still need to let our hair down.
It's important, I think, in music, like, well, in everything really, not to trivialize something or not to like put something down or make it, you know, seem less important or whatever. But yeah, you can have a laugh, you can have a good time. And for me, that is something that I believe that I can bring to the world. Equally, I think it's important that you do and can treat it like a job. You know, there are people that wake up every day and they go to work and that their work is writing songs. And I think it's important as a professional to be able to tap into that and kind of do that on a more professional basis, but still being able to tap into the emotion, because at the end of the day, what makes a song, any song, a good song, and the reason why people will connect in with a song is because of its emotion.
I was talking to a friend of mine just a couple of days ago, and I was telling him about how when I was at university, because I did a biomedical science degree, go figure, what a waste of time. Anyway, I digress. I had this real fascination of, like, I love to study, and I love, I'm very analytical as well, but I liked studying people, and it sounds so creepy when I say it out loud like this, but I would literally get I'd get a day ticket for the train, and I would just jump on a train in Melbourne, and I would travel all the way to the end of the line and then just travel all the way back and just jump on a different line. And I'd just be going in and out, or I'd sit on Flinders Street and I'd just watch people getting in and off. And it's just the way that the human interaction between strangers or between people that knew each other, it was just so fascinating to me. And I was telling him, it's like the interaction between people in life is what makes life worth living. Like if you imagine a life without any interaction with any other human being, it's not a life at all. You might as well, be dead. It's just, it is what life is. And that is where it comes back to our connection. And music does connect us in so many ways, but it connects us on that emotional level, that emotional body. And like so many of my passions and desires is I was so emotionally shut down because it was a survival thing. And honestly, I've been like woken up. My whole body has been woken up sexually and emotionally, and I'm happier, but I can also have compassion and there's sadness, and I can sit with the fear and I can sit with anger. And for me, I had to become emotionally intelligent. And that's something that they don't teach you in school. It's not something that, a lot of the times we don't have the words to say how we're feeling. We don't have the ability to express or release it. And that is where the arts come in. The arts, whether it's painting or whether it's dancing or whether it's singing or songwriting or music or any form of art, is an emotional expression of the body that the body needs to release it. It's our way of being in the world, and it's our way of interacting with other human beings, even if it's not verbally.
I think it's really important for us as songwriters. Like I almost feel like we have almost an obligation in a way to be able to create and write these songs for the people out there in the world who are having these emotions and having these experiences, but maybe don't have the ability to express it. And this is for them. I know for myself, like when I have different playlists for things like a road trip. I instantly throw on my road trip playlist, and I get into the mood. Or like sometimes when I'm really pumped and I'm really happy and I've just got my dance kind of party vibe thing. And then other times, I need to wallow, I need to cry, I need to be upset and all of that. And I have those kind of songs that just tear at the heartstrings.
Do you remember like maybe a time when a song came on the radio or you listened to a song and it really connected with you in that moment in your life? Do you remember a moment like that for you when you were younger?
Absolutely.
I remember, I think it was right as I'd broken up with my first boyfriend. I was still at uni, so I must have been around 19, 20 years old. You know the song, It's Too Late to Apologize. It's too late. What is that song? I'll have to find out that. And I had that on repeat in the car when I was going to sleep in my headphones, because I was so hurt, and it was my first sort of love. Like we were going to get married.
Yeah, wow.
That's how serious this relationship was, And then that song came on, and it just identified with it, and it clicked. And it's one of the very few songs that I will cover. When I'm just playing, it'll always be there, and I will remember that for the rest of my life. And I think that I'm always going to be connected to that song, and by default, the people that wrote that. But I feel connected into this world universe of music that is music. And I feel like, I don't know, I met someone when I was in high school, and we were just chatting, and I'm a very curious person, probably why I'm going to do this show, because I love asking questions. And I asked him, I was like, he said at some point, he's like, I don't like music.
What?
And I just like, what do you mean you don't like music? Like, just as a blanket statement,
like
I don't like music.
Does not like any
and
music.
It was the weirdest thing. Like, just all music, just don't like sound.
Wow.
I'm like, it was so weird. And then I met him years later and spoke to him. I was like, that statement really baffled me because, this was my lifeboat at the time. And he said that he was just trying to be cool and different, He was just trying to, it was one of those things. It's like everyone has their style of music. Everyone has their something. And that moment, whether it's a wedding song or a song that they listen to when they're going through a breakup or something that helped them get through. And I think that it's a love way to deal with emotions. And have you ever heard of the emotional love circle?
No.
Have I told you about that one? Let me share it with you because it's kind of an emotional intelligence exercise. So let me share it with you and the listeners. So it's a circle. Imagine a circle and you put love in the middle and there's 4 quarters. So it crossed through it. And we've got in each quarter is happiness, sadness, fear, and anger, which are the 4 core emotions of the human body. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we've got those emotions in that circle, and in the center of that circle is love. And so the exercise is essentially every single emotion is an essential part of who we are. And we can either look towards the love center of that emotion, or we can step out of the circle and be away from love. And each emotion has a love-centered purpose, or it'll have a reaction that is not love-centered. And so each emotion, if we think about it, really defines who we are and our character. And each time we have an emotion, we can choose to have it love-centered or to have it outside. And I'll give you some examples. So like with happiness, if it's towards love, it's a pure joy. You know, it's real, it's authentic, and it's that feeling of just wholeness and contentment. But then happiness outside of love can really come across as really fake, you know, insincere, and jealousy and all that sort of stuff can kind of come when there's no love in that happiness.
Yeah.
Same when we come down to fear. If we didn't have fear, then you wouldn't be able to be courageous and be brave. And so stepping into love when there's fear present is actually being brave. And, you know, that's something that I've had to learn because fear held me back for so long. It's one of the reasons I didn't sing for so long.
Yeah.
But I had to be brave and you know, you encouraged me. I had people around me supporting me, other songwriters, my family, my husband, my kids, saying, you can do this, be brave, be courageous, love yourself.
Yeah.
And outside of and fear and love is like shame and worthlessness and powerlessness and so many dark things that come with fear when it's not
a lack of love.
Centered towards love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same with sadness. You know, if we don't have sadness, we can't have compassion, which is the love. Whereas outside of love, sadness can just be outright depression, and anger outside of love is violence. But actually inside of love, when you have anger, it actually is what drives us. It's one of the most important emotions that we have. And yet a lot of me growing up, I didn't think that anger was allowed. You know, I thought it was a bad emotion. But when we're angry, that is what drives us to make something change. You know, anyone that has done anything important in the world, I guarantee you they've been angry, and that's what's driven them to make something change.
Yeah.
And for example, you know, I was really angry about the abuse and someone, you know, and so I had to speak up and I had to be brave in that circumstance, but I also had to be determined and driven enough to go to the police, report what had happened, go to a trial, tell my story over 3 days to a jury of 12 people to make sure that the behavior stopped and there was justice. And we need good people out there who can tap into these emotions and use them to be love-focused. When I'm songwriting, that's the diagram I go to. I'll have to put up the picture. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
But that's the diagram I go to. And so I always ask, if this song is a story, what emotions is my story going through? What is it focusing on? What am I teaching? And usually for me, I want to see an emotion that is inside the love circle, you know, come through and share that with people.
Yeah.
So it can be different. Like empowerment. Like I've got a new song called Just Like That, which I'm recording.
Awesome.
And it's essentially about a couple that get into a relationship. You know, they meet at the bar and they just end up together and they stay together, and then they kind of just get comfortable, and then the guy gets really mean and horrible, and the girl realizes that she'd handed over all her power and she takes it back just like that. So that's awesome. the story. But it's kind of like going through that emotion of powerlessness and then taking that power back. But she had to get angry first to have the drive and the motivation.
Had to get angry and then had to have enough self-love to realize that she was worth more than that.
Yeah, exactly. And like empowerment for women, like I know we do, but I've worked a lot of embodiment work and I've worked with a lot of amazing women, and we are the worst at handing over our power to other people, especially men.
Yeah.
Like, you know, our happiness and our, you know, financial support. Like as soon as we have children, often it's very easy to just hand over everything to them, and then we can get crushed, and it's we need to protect ourselves. And holding on to your power doesn't mean you can't be in a relationship with someone. It just means that you're responsible for your own emotions, and we all are, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really interesting thing, and I think that is really accurate, not just for women, but for songwriters as well. Like, it's like you were saying how, you could be crushed. You could have been crushed if people didn't like your songs or didn't connect in with them. I think it's really easy for us as songwriters. We tend to be fairly vulnerable, and we're really putting our hearts on our sleeves and putting ourselves out there.
Absolutely.
And it can be really demoralizing and crushing sometimes when we don't get the reception that we kind of thought or hoped for, or I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it's really scary, but it is so scary being that vulnerable.
Yeah.
It really is.
Makes you stronger, though.
Oh, it so totally does.
But we all make mistakes, don't we? Isn't it? It's one of the things. I mean, I like the fact that this isn't video, because I can be in my pajamas and not wear makeup, and it doesn't matter,
I just literally this week I just thought, you know what? I just need to actually make it happen. I need to get out there. I need to start doing it. I need to stop using fear as an excuse. And if I don't know any songs, it doesn't matter. I can learn songs for it. And if I'm not amazing first time, then that's okay. And that people will like me for me.
We do.
And it doesn't, I don't have to be perfect. It's okay to be vulnerable and show that I'm not perfect, because you know what? Maybe people will like me even more if for that. Yeah. They'll like me for me, not for my
real. That's the whole thing about live performance, is that it's real. And if there's a few mistakes in there, it doesn't matter. You just, the show must go on. As anyone, it's human nature.
As humans.
As anyone, to focus and actually pay more attention to the negative. Like, you could get 100 comments on a post saying, "What an amazing performance, and I love your voice, and I love your songs, and I thank you so much for doing this." And they're just the ones that comment, not meaning all the ones that watched it, probably enjoyed it, but didn't have a chance to comment. And then you'll get one person that will get on there, and they might publicly criticize you for the way you look. They might say that you're sang out of key, or you're stuffed up, or put more clothes on, or whatever it is, whatever their issue is. And I think the proper name for them is called troll. I'm pretty sure that's been put in the dictionary now. But the hardest thing for anyone is to be able to weigh up and look at that one person. And for me, this has been a big change, and is what really helped me realize that I was maybe ready to start sharing more of who I am and my story, was that I was getting a couple of those sort of people saying, "Put more clothes on," or "Why do you do this?" or "You just want attention," or "Why do you talk about your abuse? Just suck it up, princess. I think someone said, "Put concrete in your coffee and get over it. You don't need to talk about it." And I was able to look at that, and it didn't affect me. More so, what made me realize was, one, obviously what I had said had triggered something in their life that they have not dealt with, and they're hardening up, and that's what they were told to do. And now we're an older generation than me. But when they say that, and I can see that actually, I think sometimes people do need to be triggered to actually then start questioning their beliefs. We all need to be challenged, and we need to question our beliefs. And I think COVID and lockdown and this big change that we're going through in 2020, it's like we're all going into this little cocoon, and the world was a little caterpillar, and we're going into the cocoon, and we're all going to come out as beautiful butterflies. That's how I see it anyway, because we all are stopping, and we're challenging the way our leadership runs the world. We're challenging the media and the news and the control and the police forces and all these things that have been set in place for so long without question. All of a sudden, we are questioning these things, and we're challenging them. And in life, I'm a scientist. Like, this is what I was trained to do. I was trained to question things. And I think that is something that we need to do more of. And if something is questioned and we seek the truth will always come out. I'm a big believer in that. Always be honest.
Yeah.
You think you've gotten away with a lie, it'll catch up with you at some point. That's my theory. Yeah. And I don't need to catch people out in lies. They just fall out on their own. It just happens. And that's the way of nature.
Yeah, so true.
And I think a little bit of this year, that's what's happening.
What is life about?
Yeah.
Like what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? And why live life if it's not making you happy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And for me, music, do what you love. And music makes me so happy. Yeah. I love music. Yeah. I need to be doing more of that. That's it's that wake up call of, this is my passion. And again, even if I'm not getting paid to do it, even if it's costing me all of my money and all of my time, it's what I want to be doing. But at the same time, it's that whole, you don't get do-overs in life usually. And a moment lost is a moment that's gone forever.
Yeah.
And so, how you choose to spend those moments.
Well, hopefully they choose those moments to listen to our podcast, but
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, because look, and to be fair, obviously, I would do midnight co-writes with people anyway, because I do a lot of co-writing across the other side of the world. So just because of the time zones and stuff, I have to get up in the middle of the night because I'm inconveniently very far away from them all. So I feel like that's on me to kind of make sure that I am available, because otherwise they're just not going to want to write with me. But at the same time, there's so much more that I want to be doing with my music, and not even just my songs. I mean, I want to learn how to play some songs, some cover songs, and go and get out there and actually, I've played covers gigs my whole life.
Yep.
I've always had a band, or I've always had a guitarist, or I've always had someone else. It's different when, now that I can play some basic guitar, to be able to do that for myself. And again, I think that every cover song I learn, it only helps me with my own songwriting as well, because suddenly I play a song that I like and I go, oh, wow, I really like that strum pattern, or I really like that vibe. I'm going to write a song that's got that same kind of drum beat, or I'm going to write a song that's got that same kind of, and it's not really stealing or cheating, but it's like just being influenced. It's inspired by and influenced by.
I think one of the reasons I got so good at songwriting as well, not just because I was writing diaries since really young and all that sort of stuff, was because I grew up in a religious home, and my parents were pastors, and there was a certain expectation that, I was allowed to listen to Hillsong and DC Talk and Newsboys and all the Christian rock stuff and the Christian, which is all great music, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I was raised on it, right? So it must be good.
Yeah.
But if I was to listen to the radio and I would hear a secular song, that I would definitely not be allowed to sing that around my parents or anyone, because, I'm the pastor's child. And so I would actually then rewrite songs with, a Christian meaning, but exactly the same melody. And so I would have my own pop songs. Like I remember, Milkshake. My milkshake brings all the boys. I mean, there's no way in hell that I could ever be seen singing that, but I loved the melody. I loved the melody. And so a little teenager just singing in my room. So I rewrote the song, and I sang it to my parents. It's like, hey, Mum, what do you think of my song? It's, my Jesus brings all the peeps to the Lord, and their life is better than yours. And I remember I did that with so many songs. And that was actually how I think I learned guitar that way, and I started learning hooks and song structure, because I really loved the songs, but I didn't feel free to actually be allowed to. And I probably didn't necessarily agree. Like, I didn't think that my milkshake was going to bring all the boys to the yard. That didn't resonate with me so much. Yeah. But I loved the beat of the song, and I loved the structure, and so that can, that inspires us. That there's no new song under the planet, really.
Yeah, there's no new idea.
There's no, we're all human. We're the same humans that were around thousands of years ago with blood running through our veins. We all pooped and cried and slept, and we're born and we all die. We're all human. It's the human race, and the thing that's going to make something unique is you or me and us being authentic to who we are.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons I want to do this podcast is Songwriters Trish is a space where we can get to know that artist and what makes them unique, what makes you unique, what makes me unique, and what is it that we're trying to say through our music and what are we expressing and get to talk about it a bit, which we don't get to do that often.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to sharing and finding out more about other people and learning as well, because I'm still really new to the game as a full-time professional singer-songwriter. And, you know, there's people who've been doing it for such a long time.
You see all of me, all of me.
One of the questions I've been asking everyone is if we were to get into a time machine and we were to go meet Renee, I was going to say Janae, Renee Jonas, from when you were, say, before high school, I think around the time that you were kind of getting into music or trying to get into the industry maybe. What advice would you give to that, Renee?
Wow, so much. My mom.
Let's keep it short.
My mom.
You've got like 1 minute.
Okay, my mom would say, "Don't do it." I would say if I was talking to past me, I would have spent more time learning guitar and piano and stuff like that when I was in high school, because I think it would have been a lot easier to learn it then. It's really hard as an adult to come home after having worked a full day at work and being exhausted and go, okay, now I'm going to go practice guitar when I still have to walk the dog and
There's no time,
cook dinner and do all that
I'm
stuff.
so glad that I learned, so glad that I learned piano and guitar and drums as a kid, and like all of those hours that you have as children.
Yeah.
So you just don't have that as an adult either.
Yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing. And then secondly, I think, just that kind of just be you, be authentic. Don't worry about what the other people are saying, and, you know, take advice. Advice is good, but always always ask yourself, does this make sense to me? Does it resonate with me? And is it who I want to be as a person and as an artist?
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And if you could do a co-write with anyone, living or dead, who would you write with?
Ooh, so many great songs. Oh, you know what? I think I would want to write with Dolly Parton, actually. She's written so many amazing songs. And I just think she's a really cool person. I think that would just be so much fun.
She's the top of my list for sure. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm just in awe of her. And have you been watching her Netflix series, Heartstrings?
No, I want to, but, you know, no time.
I seriously, like, it's pretty much the only thing I really like to watch.
Yeah.
And because they're separate episodes, so like you don't have to. It's not a binge thing. You can just watch one and then
cool.
the story starts and finishes.
Yeah.
And then you can wait until the next one. And I cry just about every single one I've watched. I've cried. But like, she's just such a beautiful soul and such an inspiration. And I think she's probably one of my biggest role models. So if I ever got to write with her, that would be amazing. Maybe you and I should reach out to her and be like, hey, Dolly, would you write with the Aussie Chicks?
Yeah.
She's just queen of country music, really.
Yeah.
She's an absolute queen.
Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to release a few episodes from the get-go. They're just the best interviews, plus this one, so that people know what it is and if they want to know why I'm doing it and what's going on. But then from then on, it'll also be weekly. So we'll have new guests, or there'll be a new podcast available weekly. So people just need to subscribe or follow I've got Instagram and Facebook. It's going to be released on Spotify and Apple. Yeah. Everywhere that does podcasts. Yeah, it'll just be everywhere.
Yay. I'll Spotify.
And so that's going to be fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. And if you know anyone that you would like, or is a songwriter that has released music that would like to jump on and have a chat about their story and talk more behind their life and what got them into music and songwriting as well, please contact me at www.rae-leigh.com. There's a form in there, and people can send that through, and we can hook up a time to do a podcast for them as well.
Awesome.
So any parting words? I mean, you said a lot, but
Yeah, I like to say a lot. That's why I became a songwriter, because I like to talk. I've got a lot to say. So I figured I'd add some music to it and people might actually listen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like with this podcast. It's like songwriters have a lot to say. That's why we write songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just a nicer way. My dad was a pastor, right? So he lectured everyone all the time, and it was a kind of a running joke. And I see motivational speakers out there, and I've done a lot of motivational speaking to, women in trauma or things like that, or even fitness industry.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer that really there is no such thing as motivation. All we can do is inspire other people. And music is a safe space for us to be able to inspire other people. But if people don't want to be inspired, they can just enjoy the music and, go to the next song.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me on this Songwriters Tryst. Thanks for joining our Songwriters Tryst today. To join the family and keep up to date with future podcasts, follow us on Facebook or Instagram and subscribe. To contact me or learn more, visit my website www.rae-leigh.com.